The college football mood tracker, and to put a finer point on it, the fan base mood tracker, something we do almost every week here. We cut off the fringes, optimist, pessimist. You go sit in the corner over here, try and get along. We're going to talk about how the silent majority of the fan base feels. It's the undercurrent, it's the subcurrent. You got to dive deep into message board culture and call-in talk radio culture in order to fully understand this. You got to head over to the barbecue joint and sit there and just eavesdrop and listen to what everyone's saying. That's the only way. You can't sit in a studio 1,500 miles away from fans and know what fans are thinking. So we pride ourselves on having our finger on the pulse of fan bases here. And it's really easy. You know how? Because I talk to you every day. So let's start with Alabama. They are in built to cruise mode. And built to cruise mode is like this. I, for instance, drive a lot from Nashville to Columbus, Georgia. And so, it's flip a coin. You can go 65 through Alabama, or you can go 24 to 75 and hook up in Chattanooga and go through Georgia. There's going to be construction either way. So any and every one of us who have a driver's license have sat through construction, or either there's a wreck on the interstate. And so, you just putter along, 5 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour, brake, 5 miles, brake, 3 miles, brake. There are a few better feelings in the world, let me put it that way, than finally getting through whatever it is that has slowed you down, and you can finally put your foot back on the gas, and you find you're going 45 miles an hour, but it feels like you're going 100 because you've been sitting still virtually for so long, and you finally build back up to that cruising speed. Do you remember 63 to 48? Do you remember, it wasn't that long ago, but it feels that long ago, when Nick Saban and Alabama were having to trade points at every turn to beat Ole Miss? It seemed like the defense would never get off the field, and with good reason. They didn't that night very often get off the field. And after that game, well, Bama fans, you're happy to win, but you're looking around and you're saying, first off, this defense is less than a shell of its former self. Secondly, there's no way we're going to be able to stop Clemson or stop Ohio State or whoever we face in the playoff with this defense. And that was true. However, a couple things have changed since then. You went through the bad, now you're kind of building back up to cruising speed. What has happened since then? Well, number one, their defense has improved. I don't know to what degree, because they haven't faced an offense to that degree since then. I'm told they have one scheduled a little ways down the road in Atlanta that should provide a pretty stiff test for them. But I think most reasonable minds would agree Bama's defense probably a little bit better right now than they were against Ole Miss. Number two, this is probably the more important one. They've seen some vulnerabilities in Clemson's defense. They've watched Ohio State. Ohio State's not lighting the world on fire defensively right now. They're good. That's about as far as I would go. And so Bama fans all of a sudden look around and say, wait, so is it really just going to be about trading points? Because we can do that. And if this defense is improving to even get to just an average level combined with what we're doing offensively, plus these random whispers about Jalen Waddle maybe being able to give it a go in the playoff, but even if he can't, we can do this. We're kind of speeding back up a little bit here. It's not such a lost cause as it felt like coming out of that Ole Miss game. What about Oklahoma? Oklahoma's got a couple losses already under their belt. But the mood there is not so bad after all. Could be. I almost wish we could push this to Sunday, because that could be what the mood is. If you ever cooked anything, or like you cut your grass, or you've painted a wall and you just don't feel like it's going well at all, you have scalped the yard, or sometimes like when I'm shaving my head, because I do have to cut my hair occasionally, believe it or not, sometimes the guard will fall off and I'll just completely dig into the side of my head. Did it last week, and fortunately Colin had the camera set up where you couldn't see it. That is bad. Now, you can't dress that up. That does look bad. But sometimes you're working on something and you think it's going terribly, and then you step back and you admire your work and you say, it's not so bad after all. I thought it was going to look a lot worse. Think about an Oklahoma fan right now. This season has not gone according to plan. Oklahoma was supposed to be locked into one of those 4 spots for the playoff. Spencer Rattler was going to be a Heisman contender. Defense was going to be much improved this year under Alex Grinch, and it just really didn't happen, although it feels like they're kind of clicking right now. But the point is, no Sooner fan is arguing with me when I say the year hasn't gone according to plan, but think about what bad, air quote time, what bad right now is at Oklahoma. You beat Texas. You're favored by 7 against Oklahoma State Saturday, so you could end up beating them, thus the reason I wish we could wait to Sunday for this segment. And I'm the producer of the show. I don't know why we couldn't. But What if in your poor year, in your down year, you're still handing one to Texas and you're handing one to Oklahoma State? That is the quintessential step back, glass of lemonade in your hand, other hand on your waist, and just say, it's not so bad after all. And when we tee it up next year, we'll be right back to normal. So that's kind of where Oklahoma is right now. As for where Auburn is, they're kind of seeing the window. Now it's thin, it's just this little ray of light, but they see the window. One of my favorite movies is Twister, for obvious reasons. And when they end up finally chasing that F5, really, really late in the movie, great special effects here, by the way. When they're finally chasing that F5, and they put Dorothy in the middle of the road, but then that jerk pine tree knocks Dorothy over. But then, get in! We got to get out of here. And so Bill steps on the floor in that Dodge, and then that tanker truck blows up right in front of him. Spoiler alert here. That tanker truck blows up right in front of him. Bill and Joe, well, they just drive into that huge ball of flame, and then they're gone for a second. And you're left there worrying in the theater 3 times if you went and saw it as much as I did. You're left wondering, did they make it? And then here comes Bill Paxton, like only Bill Paxton could do, rest his soul, with Helen Hunt riding shotgun. And they emerge from the ball of flame, and there they are. That is what Auburn football could be in the process of doing right now. They were dead in the water early in the year. You could make a strong argument they lost to Arkansas. At the very least, should have been handed a loss. The Kentucky game was certainly nothing to write home about. That was the definition of a struggle win. They got smashed by Georgia. They lost to South Carolina, and Will Muschamp didn't even make it to the end of the year before he got fired. That's the caliber of team they lost to at Carolina. And yet, here they are. They're 4-2. This team feels like it's got 5 losses. They're 4-2. And they played Ole Miss, and they got by Ole Miss, and then it just exploded against LSU. Not the tanker truck, mind you, but the product on the field exploded. Now, you could say, okay, well, a lot of teams have done that to LSU. That's the point. That's the ray of light. You don't fully know yet. Don't really know what Auburn's doing here. They got Tennessee Saturday. They had a second bye, as it turned out, because of COVID. And so what in the world are they going to look like Saturday? Is it going to be one of those deals where they emerge from the ball of flames? And there you go, tires squealing. Here comes Auburn down the stretch, and sure enough, they're clicking on all cylinders just in time to play Tennessee, and then Bama, and then Texas A&M, and they got Mississippi State. Are they going to do that, or are they just going to die of smoke inhalation, essentially? Graphic part number 2 of the show tonight. I don't know where Auburn is. This is a team that I'm very close to. I mean, I grew up 45 minutes away from Auburn, followed the program. I do not have a firm grasp on Auburn right now. I don't know who does. I really don't know who does. They got one of the hot emerging tailbacks in America in Tank Bigsby. Bo Nix, at least for one afternoon against LSU, lived up statistically to what everyone expected of him when he arrived on the Plains. Is there any consistency over the final month of the year? That's what people want to see there. And last but not least, the University of Southern California. Had to think about this one. I know where my mind is on USC. I had to think about the proper metaphor, the proper mood setting. The mood setting for them is just toss the umbrella. That's the mood of most Southern Cal fans. Now, this is kind of weird. If you were a space alien and you just land on planet Earth, you see a 2-0 team. How could anybody be upset with a 2-0 team? Here's how. Number 1, space alien, you lack context, so go home. But number 2, I don't like the phrase, a win is a win, in college. In the NFL, I'm fine with it because it is a parity-driven league. This is college football. A win is not a win. Okay, you beat UT Chattanooga 30-27 versus 63-0. Those 2 wins are not equal because of what's coming down the road if you're struggling to get past the mocks. All due respect. But a win's not a win. And so you got Southern Cal here, and most people in the USC fan base entered this season not believing that Clay Helton was the long-term answer for their program. And it's kind of like if you're walking through the rain and you have an umbrella that's not really getting the job done, and so you move this way and your shoulder gets wet, and then you look down and you move that way and your right pants leg is soaked, and it's like you still have an umbrella up there, but it's got a hole in it, so like your shoulder over here is wet again on the other side, but it's still there. You might as well just toss it. The thing might as well just turn inside out and you just toss it, and I'm already wet in a number of places, whatever. I'll just take the soaking. Well, right now, Southern Cal has a badly faulty umbrella, but one that is still serviceable above their head. And you got a double-digit favorite situation against multiple teams, and we squeak by 3 points here, 3 points there, and our shoulders wet, and our arms wet, and our pants leg is wet, but umbrella's still hanging in there. A lot of Trojan fans would just assume throw that umbrella away. As Hillary Duff once sang, "Let the rain fall down." Come Clean, I think, was the name of that song. Colin, one of your favorites, I think. And so that's what they want. There's one small problem, though. And the problem, as it turns out, again, wouldn't make much sense to the space alien over here, but the problem is this pesky little thing called a 2-0 record. They keep winning, and they're favored by 3 against Utah Saturday. I picked them to lose, but I mean, if they follow through in what has become Trojan fashion this year, they're going to find a way to be +4 turnovers Saturday and get outgained by 195 yards, but still win 26-24. Capsule that. It may actually happen. So that's the mood tracker for right now. There's a lot going on. In a COVID year, I told you, didn't matter about COVID. It's not going to matter. People's emotions are going to be no different this year than they normally are.